What's going on YouTube? So for any brand to be successful these days, they need to have a robust lineup of crossovers. And for Volkswagen, that begins with this Taos. And we've spent the last 7 days testing out Volkswagen's most affordable crossover. So, is this model, which most people can't pronounce, actually the best choice in the segment? Let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's start off this review with our spec dump as always. So what you'll find under the hood of the Taos is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes 158 horsepower, and that power is going to be routed through either an 8-speed automatic or a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Your combined fuel economy for this specific all-wheel drive example is 27 miles per gallon.
Now, of course, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to that powertrain, and we will be discussing those things later on in our test drive, as well as getting things like our signature sound level reading. After that, we'll also talk about potential resale value and reliability, which is a new thing we're adding to our reviews.
But first, we got to close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior design as well as the interior features. Now, getting started here with the exterior design, this is one of our favorite elements about this Taos, is just the fact that in a segment where a lot of the competitors have kind of weird and funky designs, the Taos comes in with a very clean and elegant look. It's definitely very Volkswagen. It also even has a little bit of Audi-like inspiration, I think, and that begins up here in the front. So we've got that typical Volkswagen grille, the latest kind of shape with your 3 pronounced chrome bars through there. The lower part of the fascia is going to be finished in a gloss black to give it a more aggressive stance, and you do have some kind of mesh down here in this section as well as in the grille itself. Now, let's talk a little bit about lighting. So we do have some interesting things on board. LED lights, first of all, are going to be standard across the entire lineup, even your base model. But when you choose the SEL trim level, that gets you 2 exclusive features. So first of all, that's going to add in this light bar, which goes across the grille here, makes it stand out and also matches with other Volkswagen products. The other big benefit, though, is the fact that you get these super premium projector LED headlights. These things are fantastic. First of all, they actually have adaptive abilities. So when you start up the vehicle, they have cool animations, things like that. They also have awesome high beams that really light up the road. So super impressed by these headlights overall. Now, as we move around to the rear of the vehicle, you continue to have that really clean and sophisticated design.
Yeah, I think it almost kind of looks like a miniature Audi, which certainly is a good quality for something in this price category. Now, let's break down some of the features that you're going to get for the Taos. So we do have a rear wiper right here, and then let's check out our tail lights and see if all the elements are LED. So as you can see, we have an LED brake light, LED reverse light, and LED amber turn signal indicator. So all of your taillight elements are LED, and that's standard across every version of the Taos. So very impressive for that low price point. Now, as we drop down to this lower diffuser, all of this is going to be sealed off for the most part. However, we do have quite a few different designs, as well as some faux exhaust outlets on both sides, which kind of spice up the overall design. As far as towing, it's not going to be recommended for this model.
Now, moving on to your wheels, you do have a wide assortment of options. This is the fully loaded model, so we have the largest in the lineup. This is on a 19-inch alloy that comes on the SEL with all-wheel drive. And as you can see, a really nice looking design on board. I think they really stand out nicely. Now, as we go above here, we do also have our Taos branding up here. When people see the name, you get all types of pronunciations. We've gotten anything from Taos to people just seeing the T and thinking it must be the Tiguan. But as far as our mirrors are concerned, standard blind spot monitoring and standard heating, even on the base model.
Now, before I get into the overall side of the vehicle, I do want to mention some 2024 changes. One of those is that you can now get the SE Black Edition, which is, of course, going to allow for some blacked out elements for that sportier look that a lot of buyers are looking for. Now, as far as the overall side, the vehicle length is about 175 inches long, and it does have a pretty substantial look despite being in this subcompact segment. Also new for 2024 are your safety systems. As a matter of fact, you're getting every single feature as standard equipment this year, which is certainly very nice for a more affordable Volkswagen model like this one. Now, before we go any further in the video, we want to tell you about Helix Sleep. The key to a successful day is a great night's sleep, and their 4th of July sale is running now, so it's a great time to upgrade your mattress.
You can get 30% off an Elite or Luxe mattress, plus 2 free pillows, or take advantage of 25% off site-wide.
But why should you take advantage of these offers?
Well, Helix Sleep makes 20 unique premium mattresses and bedding that can be customized to fit your specific needs, and they're conveniently shipped right to your door.
And if you're like us and have no idea which of those 20 unique mattresses would be your best fit, never fear. Since Helix knows that everybody is different, they made a sleep quiz that matches your unique body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you.
I personally am a side sleeper who prefers medium softness. Based on my results, Helix matched me with their Midnight Luxe mattress. You can further personalize your mattress by adding the Glacio Tex cooling cover, which cools you during the hot summer months. I have had my Helix mattress for a little over a month, and I love it. As you know, for getting our car reviews, we have to travel quite a lot, and frankly, hotel beds just don't compare.
Now, if it makes you nervous to buy something that you haven't tried, Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, which is more than 3 months to make up your mind that you love it.
I love my Helix mattress, and I think you would too. So if you're looking for a new bed, make sure you check out Helix Sleep. Their 4th of July sale is running now. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sleep with 30% off an Elite or Luxe mattress, plus 2 free pillows, or take 25% off site-wide. Click the link below to go to helixsleep.com/carconfections to find out more about this limited time offer.
But now it's time to get back to the video.
All right, let's go ahead and hop inside. First, we'll take a look at the key fob. Typical Volkswagen key fob, just kind of all blacked out. You do have a smart entry system on all but the base model. You will also get remote start as well on the fob. Now, to get inside the vehicle itself, there's not a sensor behind the handle, so just press that black button there and that will unlock the door. All right, now taking a look at the interior, just like with the exterior, you really see a lot of elements in the Taos that carry over from the more expensive Volkswagen crossovers. But before we get into all those real specific details, let's first talk about our seats. So as you can see with these seats, we do have the leather seat. This is going to be on just the SEL trim level, and we have the really nice looking two-tone finish. Big fan of this. It looks quite upscale with all the color contrast stitching, piping, and perforation going all throughout. Obviously, lower trims are going to come with cloth or a cloth and leatherette combination, and then all but the base model will come with this 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that we're fully inside here, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Starting out with our door trim, we've got a piece of leatherette on the armrest portion. We also have a big section through the center, which is also finished in leatherette, and this has a new stitching detail that runs through it for 2024. Looks quite nice. Up here is going to be a soft touch plastic. Now as we go to the upper dashboard, this is going to be finished in a hard touch plastic. That's typical for this segment. We have a large piece of shiny gray trim that runs through the center section as well as the upper part of the door trim. More leatherette through this part. And then our lower panels are going to be hard touch, but everything in here does fit together very solidly and with little panel gaps or anything like that. That's typical for Volkswagen, again, even on their most affordable crossover. And after you fired it up with the standard push-button start, let's talk about some individual features. We'll begin things out with our gauge cluster. So you'll notice this is a very premium looking gauge cluster. That's because this is a 10.25-inch full digital cluster. This comes on the SEL trim level, but even if you choose one of the lower trims, I'm happy to tell you do still get a digital gauge cluster. It's just going to be a smaller 8-inch display instead. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have a nice looking leather wrap steering wheel. This is going to be included on all with the base model. It's actually a flat bottom design as well. And one of the cool things I've got to point out about this is that for 2024, Volkswagen has moved to include heated steering wheel on every single trim level. So you've got that button right there that'll turn your heated steering wheel on no matter how much money you spend on your Taos. Finally, it is a manual tilt and telescope. Now, turning over here to our storage, we'll open up our center console here. This is a subcompact crossover, so as you can see, it's not going to be gigantic, but we do have donuts inside to still test out the volume, because here at Car Confections, we like to do the donut test. Inside of here, you're actually going to find 7 donuts, so even though it didn't look like much at first, it actually kind of is deep and then bends around a little bit, so you have some secret donut storage inside. I will point out this does not adjust forward though if you're a little bit shorter. And we also have 2 cup holders here, a little storage slot right there, and then up in the very front you've got a couple USB connections and a wireless phone charging pad. Now as we move back to the shifter, you have a pretty tall design on board. Pull back for drive, you can bump back again to go into a sport mode. There's no paddle shifters on the steering wheel though. This is going to be where you do the manual mode. Going into reverse, here is our standard backup camera. As you can see, we do have active trajectory on board, and you can also get a little bit of a visualization of your parking sensors on the display if you'd like. And then right next to that, you do have an electronic parking brake, but no brake hold function. Now right above the shifter, we've got a panel of climate controls. These will be manual, but just on the base trim level. The other versions are going to come with the dual zone automatic setup you see here. Very simple operation. We have nice high quality knobs and buttons to make all of our physical adjustments. Now, one thing I definitely wanted to point out is right here. So we do have 3-stage heated seats. This starts on SE all-wheel drive, and then SEL all-wheel drive is going to get you ventilated seats. That's right, ventilated seats. That's a rare feature in this class. However, after 7 days of being with this model in very hot weather, we did attempt to use them very frequently, and I have to say they're not very effective. I'm not sure if I'd get too worked up about that feature after all, because you really can't feel them much at all. Now, let's move on and take a look at some of the other physical knobs, including this one right here, which is for our audio system. So this being the loaded model, we have the 8-speaker Beats audio system. Let's give that a sample. Overall sound quality of this system is quite good. It definitely fills up the cabin nicely. It is going to be more of a bass heavy sound system, but it's one of the better ones in this segment. Now let's talk about our technology. So what we have right here is the 8-inch display. This is going to be included on our top trim level. Other models are actually going to come with a 6.5-inch display instead. So that's going to be certainly, for those models, pretty small for the segment at this point. But when you get the upgraded display, that also gives you some upgraded technology. You get the latest MIB3 software. That is going to give you the ability to have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is what you see up on the display right now. Finally, up top here, we have an auto dimming mirror. And then another quite premium feature for this segment of vehicles, the fact that we have a panoramic sunroof. This is included on the SEL trim level as well, but you can option it on to the lower trim if you want.
Now let's check out one of my favorite elements about the Taos, and that is this rear seat area, because this vehicle really does feel so much bigger than it actually is, and the vast majority of things in this segment certainly don't feel half as big as this model. Now, in terms of the actual legroom and headroom figures, those are also going to be quite impressive. 38 inches of legroom, about 39 inches of headroom. I think the headroom is the most impressive thing. It feels open and airy back here. As far as the thing that we do in all of our Car Confections reviews, we get a knee measure, so let's go ahead and check that out. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", I'm 5'9", and we're sitting at a very solid about 8.5 inches of knee room. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. I do want to point out, though, that these rear seats do not recline, so this is going to be your only configuration that you can get the Taos in. As far as features, here on the loaded SEL, we do have vents here in the center. little storage cubby right there, as well as a single USB-C port. If we fold down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside. This does fit the Stanley water bottle. Also an area that fits a Stanley water bottle is the door trim. As you can see, the door trim has a ton of storage in there. It fits the bottle. It also fits some extra stuff in there as well. The door trim itself, though, is going to be made of hard touch materials pretty much from top to bottom. We do have a padded armrest, though, so that kind of helps out in things. Now walking up to the tailgate, a power tailgate is not offered on the Taos, so do be aware of that. And let's talk about the cargo capacity, one of my other favorite elements about this vehicle, because after living with this for 7 days, you learn to appreciate that this has 28 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. And if I reach up here and fold the seats down, which they do fold 60-40 split folding, by the way, and you also have a pass-through, you're going to have a maximum of around 65 cubic feet of capacity. Now, it is worth noting that's for the front-wheel drive model, so the all-wheel drive that you're looking at today has slightly less cargo capacity, a maximum of around 60 cubic feet, so 5 cubic feet less if you choose all-wheel drive. Now, one of the other things that we do in all of our Car Confections reviews is get the cargo length, width, and height figures. From behind Drew's driving position to the rear of the cargo area, about 68 inches of length. From behind the second row to the rear, 33 inches of length. It's going to be approximately 39 inches wide. Let's see the overall height, though. The height is very good at 32 inches. That's really impressive, even for a segment above. If we lift up the floor, we do have a spare tire. I also kind of want to point out, though, that these seats do not fold exactly flat with the floor, so you do have a little bit of a hump to contend with, and you also have a 12-volt outlet. Alright guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Taos. In this test drive, we're going to be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
There was 60 miles per hour in the Taos all-wheel drive. Now let's talk about what's under the hood again. We already mentioned it with the spec dump, but as a reminder, it's a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. We have 158 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. In particular, that's a good torque figure. As you might have been able to notice, it does take a second to get moving. There's definitely some turbo lag, but once you get past that, power does seem pretty good, especially for this segment. This tends to be a slow segment, but with that torque, you do have a pretty punchy feel.
Yeah, I quite like the overall powertrain experience, especially the torque, like Drew said. I think that's a thing worth noting here. Also, the fact that it is a very quiet and refined motor, so even under really hard acceleration, it doesn't seem too strained, which I appreciate. That's pretty rare in this segment, but like you said, the turbo lag is a bit much at times. If you're trying to take off quickly or pass someone or whatnot, you really have to stomp it, and it takes about 1 to 2 seconds before it will even kick in at all.
Now let's go ahead and mention the other aspect of the powertrain, and that is going to be the transmission. So there are 2 different transmissions with this model. You have an 8-speed automatic if you get a front-wheel drive trim, but if you go for an all-wheel drive trim, that's going to substitute in a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Obviously, that's going to make some differences. Previously, a couple years ago, we drove the front-wheel drive with the 8-speed automatic. Today, though, or this week, I should say, rather, we've been with the dual-clutch automatic. As far as observations with this transmission, I think that it can be a little unsure of itself at low speeds. I think that's one thing worth noting. But once you are moving, it does have fast shifts. So that's just kind of the nature of dual clutch. Be aware when you're making that selection. Maybe test drive both of them, see what you want. The 8-speed is going to be smoother because this does kind of contribute, I think, to that overall laggy feel off the line. the dual clutch is figuring things out, the turbo is trying to spool up, and that's really what makes it feel like it's lagging when you're getting off the line.
Alrighty, and now that we're just kind of cruising down the road, I do want to just take a second to discuss ride quality and what we've noticed over the past 7 days with this Taos. Now, a couple things worth pointing out here. For one, I think the ride quality is quite nice in this vehicle. Overall, it feels very solid. It feels refined for this segment for sure. When you hit a large intrusion in the road, it does a good job of soaking it up. Even despite the larger wheels on the outside, I imagine the other trim levels would be even better when it comes to ride quality. As far as differences in the suspension setups, for front-wheel drive models, you do have a torsion beam rear suspension. For the all-wheel drive, you get the multi-link rear suspension, so that's a little bit of a different suspension setup, so keep that in mind. But overall, been pretty pleasantly surprised with the ride quality. I will point out, though, that I find these front seats to be definitely on the firmer side, so if you like a firmer seat, you will appreciate that. If you like a softer seat, you may not like them that much. We're speeding up to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading. All right, we have fan speed on 1. .58 decibels is what we're sitting at for this Volkswagen Taos. Now, it is worth noting we are in our home state of Kentucky, so this is our official strip of road, and we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition because we can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Boy, we've tested out a lot of vehicles in this segment so we can see how it compares. And that does indeed put it on the quieter end of the segment. It's actually a little bit louder than the previous Volkswagen Taos that we tested out a couple years ago. But overall, this is going to be a pretty quiet option. This segment tends to be on the louder side, and I think that this has, some good German characteristics of having a nice quiet cabin. I think you will appreciate that overall.
All right, let's talk about today's slam dunk and airball. I'm going to start things off with the airball today. And that's going to be that this is a difficult vehicle to drive smoothly.
Yeah.
We can rattle on about all the technical jargon, why that is, dual clutch, whatever, turbo, lat. I don't think people care about that. People shopping in this segment, I think what you would notice is that this is kind of difficult to drive smoothly without your occupants looking at you like, why are you driving like that?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has a rougher edge to it when it comes to that. Now, on the slam dunk side of things, what we're going to say is kind of like a dual slam dunk of just space and style. I think that's a really big win in this segment, to have a good look, that it doesn't look cheap on the outside, and also to have a lot of space on the inside. I think that's a really big win for Volkswagen here with the Taos, and really the main reasons why someone would buy this vehicle. Now, let's also discuss the fuel economy for the Taos, because there's some stuff to talk about here as well. So with the front-wheel drive model, you come in at 31 miles per gallon combined. If you choose the all-wheel drive model, because you're switching out the transmission, you are also, getting penalized more so in the fuel economy department. 27 miles per gallon is what you're getting on that model. So 4 mpg deficit by choosing the all-wheel drive. With all of those things considered, I honestly feel like I would choose the front-wheel drive model if it's not completely necessary, depending on what climate you live in, just because you are getting, a lot of different things when you choose all-wheel drive, including a new transmission and quite a bit worse fuel economy. And speaking of fuel economy, let's see the average over the past 7 days. So that would be since refueling here. We've been averaging around 21.8 mpg. Now, granted, we have been driving pretty much exclusively in the city during our 106 miles of driving this week. However, it's worth noting, I really don't think that this is going to be super impressive in the fuel economy department. Just overall, it seems to have been very much sitting at that 22 to 27 mpg, no matter what type of driving situation you're in.
Yeah, you can show them the longer term.
Yeah, the long-term one, which has 2,500 miles on it, 27.4, and that's going to be a lot of highway driving, bringing this vehicle down from Chicago to Kentucky. So 27 is probably what you're going to be sitting at for even highway driving. As far as last things worth mentioning, we do have a 4-year, 50,000 mile basic and powertrain warranty. We also do get 2 years and 20,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And let's go ahead and talk about pricing for this model. Now, we start at a price of around $24,000 for the base S trim level. SE is $28,000. The SEL Black is going to be around $30,000, and then the SEL model starts at $33,500. Now, once you add in the options, as you can see today, we're sitting at around $34,000 as tested. Now, if you're looking to buy a Volkswagen Taos or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. We also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. All right, now it's time to talk about potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. Now, first up, we'll talk about resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volkswagen Taos's potential resale value. Now, based on this metric, after 5 years and 60,000 miles, Volkswagen will be worth around 51.8% of its original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 14.7%. Now, it's worth noting that is actually above industry average for the 5-year metric. It's going to be a little bit lower in the 10-year metric, so do keep that in mind. But overall, not a bad resale value, is going to be below stuff like Honda and Toyota, though.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Volkswagen is well below average.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale value and reliability figures and methods, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on our 7-day review of the Volkswagen Taos. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to get more car reviews like this, you're also going to help us get more 7-day content reviews such as this. By you subscribing, you really play a pivotal role in getting these cars down to us for these extensive 7-day long tests. So please go ahead and do that if you haven't already. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.